Okay, now it started. Welcome Pam and Asa for our session for trial and error and experimentation. So you know that you are in the book launch and also the conference for Agile People Principles, your call to action for the future of work. So I'm the host and also the author of the chapter trial and error and experimentation part. So because we are so few people, if it is also possible, I would just like to hear from you why you have chosen this one, not the other ones in the parallel. What is really you want to get from out of the session?
Yes, I can start. Mm-hmm. I mean, the VUCA war is something that is really appealing to me. It feels like we're living now in times even crazier than, half a year ago. And I am an Agile coach. I'm located in Sweden, and quite recently I started a new position in a new company. So the experimentation is something that I really want to bring, and this trial and error to the mindset to the teams that I'm working with. So yeah, I mean, let's try and adapt and all this thing, and it's okay to fail. So it was really appealing, all the words.
Great. Okay, so we will hopefully go into that part, the cultural part, the psychological safety part. I hope you would also benefit from it. Thank you very much. Welcome again, Pam.
Thanks.
And Oasa?
Yes. Do you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
I was one of the people in Smögen camp last summer, writing the manifesto. Yeah. And we talked a lot about VUCA, and I'm interested in that since I work a lot with digitalization in government and agency, and we really need to adapt to the complex changes now, and we usually are more like planning along ahead, but so this is appealing to me.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So welcome again. So let me introduce myself. So I will be giving a more brief information about myself in the coming slides, but I'm the managing partner of Haga Business Consultancy. We also call us the Haga Organizational Explorers. We have established from 2 companies, one from Turkey and one from the Netherlands. And with more than 20 years of experience, consultancy experience from our parent companies, we try to provide customized agile and business solutions from a holistic framework of strategy, structure, and culture. So let's begin with this uppermost priority in the VUCA world. So
do you work with Inanj?
Yes, I work with Inanj.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So she was also there, right? Yes. So you know her, then you know our company. So if we start with trial and error, I really believe that we have trial and error in our DNA, because no one could have walked if they didn't have tried again and again after falling down too much while they are learning to walk. And if there is no physical problem, actually, sooner or later, every human being learns how to walk. And welcome, Inanj. We cannot see you, but thank you for joining. So, and when children are trying to learn walking, actually, they are not attending courses like 3 steps to succeed in walking. They just use trial and error. They just try, so they fall down, but they just get up and continue. And if we look at their definitions, trial and error and experimentation, trial and error is defined as a fundamental method of problem solving and learning. And it is characterized by the repeated and varied attempts which continue until success or until the practitioner stops trying. Similarly, experimentation is the process of trying new methods, activities to discover what effect they have. Experimentation encompasses both success and failure with the iterative nature of understanding what works and what does not. And what works and what does not, both results are equally important, because we do experimentation and trial and error mainly for learning, actually, about our organization. And actually, when we are a child, we don't only use trial and error to only learn walking, right? Probably we have a very strong inner voice in ourselves saying something like, go there, try, don't stop. Even for the ones who are trying to stop you, preventing you from falling down, you can just try. You can fall down and get up. So we really have a great inner voice that makes us go out from our comfort zone and to realize our potential. But if the other voices who say, don't do this, you will fall down, you will be a fool, look like a fool, these voices are so strong from the outside or from the inner side, the people are staying in their comfort zone, and unfortunately they cannot really realize their potential. And this is not only true for the people, actually, human beings, it's also true for the organizations. If organizations always stay in their comfort zone, if they do not want to try anything because they would like to avoid failure, actually it is also not easy for them to reach their potential. So I'm an industrial engineer who worked 10 years in automotive industry as a lean expert, as a project manager, and also an R&D manager. I was the first R&D manager of this global company's Turkey organization, and we had an R&D center. We even had European Union funded manufacturing process improvement projects where we were really building different machines like this one, like a robot building the fuses on the connectors of harnesses. And while I was managing those projects, it was really hard for me. As an industrial engineer, these systems had different subsystems. So I had to manage mechanical engineers, electronics engineers, mechatronics engineers. But there, actually, we were bringing some experts in and we were designing the subsystems and then optimize the full system. And at the end, actually, we were succeeding. So we were really having these kind of machines, which were first mainly in our industry, and we were succeeding. And until I have changed my career from R&D, engineering management, to HR and consultancy, I didn't understand really, actually, in R&D, I was mainly dealing with only the complicated domain. But when I reached the HR and to the consultancy part, I was really in the complex domain, and the complex domain, managing there, the things, the problems, or dealing with the issues, it's much more harder, actually. So let's explore what I mean by complicated and complex domain. So you probably all know Dave Snowden, who has derived the model called the Kinefin model, which is a sense-making and also a decision-making model. Also, you also said that we live in the VUCA world, and having decisions in this VUCA world is not easy. So this is one of the reasons that why he has derived something like this, designed something like this, in order for the formal and informal leaders of organizations or human beings to have a better guide for making decisions in this world. So I'm not going to go in every detail of this model because it will take too much time, but if you are not aware of it, I would really encourage you to look at it because it really makes lots of sense, but we will explore some part of it. So Dave Snowden says that one of the domains actually we are making decisions is the simple domain. In simple domain, the cause and effect relationship exists. They are so much predictable and it's very easy to repeat these ones. So in this domain, when you are having a decision and you need to have a decision in this domain, or when you have a problem in this domain, it's easy, you just sense, okay, what is this? What should I do? You make a categorization and then you respond. It's like baking a carrot cake. If you have the same recipe and the same ingredients, you would also have the same, you would always have the same cake at the end. Hi, Miglin, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Let me continue. If we go to the other domain called the complicated domain, here we have the cause and effect relationships. They exist, welcome, but they are not so self-evident. It's like the robots or the machines we were designing in our R&D center. So you need to bring some experts to analyze. So what you do is you sense, you categorize your problems, what you need, then you make an analyze, and then you respond. And if we go to the next domain, where it is the complex domain, there is no evident causality here. If things happened once some way, they don't have to happen the same way again in the near future. So here, what you can do is, because you cannot really bring experts and foresee what will happen, you have to try, so make some experiments, get the result of those experiments, sense, and then respond. Here, we cannot do fail-safe design. We have to make fail-to-safe experiments in order to see the emerging outcomes from the system. And we learn from our failures, we learn from the results of our experiments to really, how to say, open our way that we are going to walk. People, for example, say that parenting is not rocket science, but actually rocket science is in the complicated domain, because you can just bring experts. Yes, it's complicated, but you can build a rocket when you have experts to really design it. But parenting, managing an organization, or maybe running a change program, implementing a new performance management system in an organization, they are all in the complex domain, actually. It is harder to decide. It is harder to solve a problem. Why? Because we are working with complex adaptive systems, human beings. We are working with complex adaptive systems, teams, or organizations. So you cannot just analyze and go. You have to really use trial and error in order to do this. And as also was saying, we live in this VUCA world. You know that it means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. In this VUCA world, we are all connected to each other, and there's continuous change. And something happening in China, we have all lived it, right? Something happening in China could affect economically, physically, and virtually all over the other world, because we are all connected and we cannot really foresee what will happen. There is really too much uncertainty. And currently we are in the September timeframe, and for most organizations, it is the time for they make their forecasts or budgets for the next year, right? So, okay, we will sell this much, we will start this project, we will start this and that. But what always happens because of this continuous change, like the COVID that happened, unfortunately, the reality is always different. Life is the things that we experience actually while we were planning different things. I think it was the saying of John Lennon. And because in this reality, there is lots of uncertainty, we really need experimentation and trial and error to foresee the next steps in this reality. So why experimentation then is so important? Because with experimentation, we make decisions by data, not by opinions or assumptions of some managers or some people in the organization. And this framework brings us a framework to question the status quo in the organization. You probably also lived it, right? So when you try to bring something new to the organization, or sometimes even in your friends or in the community that you are in, people say, yes, Inanç, but it's not easy to do. We have tried it before. So they have lots of things that they have lived, but they have their own beliefs, assumptions, and biases also around those experiences. And experimentation is a really good tool to trigger new ideas. And then you test these ideas in production in real life to get data and feedbacks from your customer. And then you can develop your product and processes with the feedbacks and preferences of your customers, not by some assumptions of some managers or some people. Because when you experiment, you then see in that complex environment, the emerging possibilities actually you can really take and then build upon. I already used the term safe to fail experiments. Why this is important and what do we mean by safe to fail experiments? So what do we mean by safe to fail experiments? These are experiments in a way that you design them, even if you fail actually, you are not going to bankrupt your company. So in order to do this, we want to have a small scale, as small as possible, as small scope as possible to design our experiments. And we would like to look at these experiments in the idea or opinion that we would like to challenge from a variety of angles. And when we want to make experiments, it's not just random shootings in the dark, actually. We need to have a good hypothesis and we need to have a good rationale behind. So I would like to test this because I have seen this data. So you really should have some rationale behind to invest in experimentation. And when we are doing experimentation or trial and error, we are not trying to ensure success or we are not trying to avoid failure. Remember, we are doing this, success and failure have both they are really important for us, and they really have a good, how valuable for us, because we want to do this to build our knowledge about the system. When we want to see the applicability of change ideas by allowing those ideas that are not useful to just fail during those experimentation, and then we can have the beneficial ideas to be enhanced and then amplified. And if you would like to start experimentation in your organization, you can just use a format like this, like a template like this. Let's go one by one. If you would like to start experimentation in your organization, first define the idea, the concept that you would like to challenge in your organization, and make the link of this idea, of this concept, to your current company purpose. How would it serve to your company purpose? After this, as I said, rationale is important. So put also the rationale behind your hypothesis. Why do you think it will be in success? After doing this, monitoring your experiments, your trials are very, very important. Put the indicators of success and ways to monitor them. You could define really good indicators of success, but if you cannot monitor them, if you cannot measure them, this is not a good experimentation setting. You have to redesign it. And put your amplification strategy, possible amplification strategy, assuming success, and also plan possible actions in case of success and who will be responsible for them. And as we do it for the success option, also do this for the failure option. So put the signals of failure and how to monitor them. I'm underlining again, so these signals should be monitorable, measurable, so that you can really get, now I'm in failure mode. And then put your possible recovery strategy, assuming failure, and also put possible actions in case of failure and who would be responsible for them. So actually, we see that when you want to start experimentation, you can use a template, as I just showed you. It's a simple one, and start just trying and then building up more, right? It's easy to do it. But if it is so valuable, why the organizations are not using it this much, too much? After examining this question for several years, and Harvard Business School professor Stephen Thomke came to the fact that the central reason for this is culture. He states that as companies try to scale up their online experimentation capacity, they often find that the obstacles are not tools and technology, but shared behaviors, beliefs, and values. And for every experiment that succeeds, nearly 10 don't. And in the eyes of many organizations that emphasize efficiency, predictability, and winning, those failures are wasteful. So they prefer to stay in their comfort zones, as we have shown in the previous slides, because they associate those trials and errors with failure. My company creates an environment where people can try, fail, and learn from their mistakes. So this phrase is from the Gallup employee survey. This is one of the phrases Gallup is searching with their employee survey and asking of the employees. And unfortunately, in 2017 and 18, only 1/4 of employees said that I strongly agree on this statement. So what does it mean? The 3/4 of the employees who have attended this big survey, actually, they said that they are not feeling safe to try in their organizations. They are not feeling safe to fail in their organizations, and they are not feel safe to learn from their mistakes, unfortunately. So as Stephen Thomke says, the culture is the main issue here. And I think it was Pam's question. Pam would like to also wanted to explore how she can also put this culture in there. So if we cannot change the culture there, it's not easy for people to really try new things and learn from them. The culture will eat those people, unfortunately. So there's a person, an American architect, engineer, and futurist. He was born maybe 100 years before, Richard Buckminster Fuller. He said that we are deliberately designed to learn only by trial and error, but unfortunately, we are brought up to think that nobody should make mistakes. So if in your organization, you are treating people like this, if you don't want people to make mistakes, If when they make mistakes, you punish them. It doesn't have to be something like monetary or physically, but even with your words or the way you look at them, if you punish them, they wouldn't want to try anymore. This is also valid for the family, right? If the child is trying something and when there's a failure, if the parents are saying, how can you do this? Something like that, the child would not want to try again. So psychological safety is the basis for an learning organization, and it's the basis also for an organization who can really experience experimentation and learning from it. So because it is so important, psychological safety, having a psychological safe environment, I would like you to attend me with this experiment. So I really wanted you to feel how can a psychologically safe environment could make you feel, what emotions it triggers, and if you are in an unpsychologically safe environment, what emotions you could feel. So for this, I would kindly ask you to, for this experiment, I would kindly ask you to just think about an incident just happened in the near past where you didn't feel very well. Maybe you made a mistake, or you had a fight with or an argument with a colleague or a customer where it didn't really make you feel well. First of all, I would kindly ask you to recall an incident that you had.
Can I ask something?
Yes, of course.
I see that you are recording, and I think it's not such a safe space, maybe, if we're gonna talk about this.
Oh, so maybe
what do you think?
Actually, we are not going to talk about the issues. I'm just going to ask you about the emotions afterwards. Would that make you feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thank you for asking this also, because if I didn't think about it, so maybe people wouldn't have attended. So if you are also feel now safe to talk about, safe to make this experiment, if everybody has already recalled an incident that they have lived in the near past, I would kindly ask you to stand up, if possible, if you feel comfortable, okay? And when we stand up, I would also kindly ask you to, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. If you do not feel comfortable to stand up, you can just lean back on your chair. So I just want you to be comfortable. And if possible, close your eyes. You can also close the video if you do not want the other ones to see you, okay? The reason for this is we just really want to go and look deep inside of us, okay? Thank you very much for attending me. And now I will be asking you 2 sets of questions. And after asking the first set of questions, I ask you to just note the emotions that you have, the feelings that came to you after those set of questions, and just write them in one part of your mind, okay? Then we will go to another set of questions, and I will be also asking you to just write down those emotions in your mind, just to share afterwards if you feel comfortable. So the first set of questions come. Whose fault is this? What's wrong with you? Why these kind of things always happen to you? Why didn't you think about it before? Why you couldn't prevent this? It's always you. So please note the emotions you have currently about the situation. And if you have really, in your body, if you feel these emotions somewhere very precisely, maybe your heart is beating more, or if you have an ache in your shoulders or headache, please also note them in your mind. And now the second set of questions come. If you just imagine yourself flying up in the sky, you are really up now, high now, and you just look at that situation from there. What really happened? I know the situation didn't really make you feel well, but if there is a small thing that was good in this, if there's a small thing in this incident that was right in this, what was it? What do you need now? In order not to have a similar experience in future, what could you learn from this experience? What is your responsibility in this incident? What could be your choices? And what's possible now? Thank you very much. Please note the emotions, and if the body signals have changed, please also note them. And you can open your eyes. Thank you very much. Does anyone would like to change? You can write from the chat, or you can just unmute and share. As Oasa has asked, we are not concerned about what incident you have lived. We only want to get the different emotions that you have had in between these different experiences.
I think at the first phase of the experiments, your heart is a little bit beating a little bit faster, and you feel that you are getting closer and closer to yourself. I mean, you don't want to deal or communicate with the people around you, but when you change about what would be, your brain just, instead of focusing on yourself and closing yourself, you begin to think about, yeah, what could be possibilities, opportunities. What if he did do, maybe I could do that. So you are trying to find some kind of growth opportunity, something like that. Maybe you want to communicate more.
Thank you, Inanç. Anybody else who would like to share?
I wrote in the chat, but yeah.
No, please, also go ahead.
I wrote in the chat, but
okay,
I think in the first time the emotion was more helplessness and a little pain in the stomach, and in the second it was more a distance to the situation and relaxed, and I could see it from a systemic perspective instead of personal.
Thank you. And Pam?
Yeah, in the first set, I think the main feeling was shame, like not being good enough, kind of that feeling. And I felt it also in my stomach, as you were saying also. And at some point, I kind of, when you were asking these questions, I stopped breathing. I noticed like, I was holding my breath. The second one, it was a bit more hopeful and a bit like watching a movie, a bit more distance from the experience itself.
Yeah, thank you very much. So when we also do this with our clients, similar experiences come. So the first set of questions I was asking, we call them the judger questions. I was asking you similar question to this. So I was judging you actually. And it was not only with the wordings of the questions, probably you have also recognized with my body language, with the voice of tone, and which is much more powerful than the words. Actually, I was judging you, right? So when we judge the other ones, how can you do this, blah, blah, blah. So I become angry, I become frustrated, and this is also harming my physical health and my body. If I judge myself or the other ones are judging me, I can feel, as you say, maybe powerless, useless, or maybe ashamed, right? So, and if you are having too many people judging you personally, you can be even depressed, unfortunately. And being in the judger mode or having too much people judging you actually has also physical health problems, can cause physical health problems. Research are saying that people who are getting too much judgment from the other ones, especially the people who love them, who they love actually, they have lower immune system, they have more cortisol in there, cortisol is the stress hormone in their body, and it triggers lots of other diseases if it continues too much. But when we come to learner questions, as Inanç also explained, actually, it triggers some learning, some possibilities, curiosity, because we are saying, what's possible now? What are the choices? And why we have experienced this with questions, because the way our mind works is when you ask it a question, it tries to answer. Probably it also happened to you someday in your high school or middle school. Sometimes you cannot solve a mathematics problem, and at night you just wake up with the answer of it, because at the back of your mind actually tries to answer the questions you ask to it or it is asked by. So if we more ask ourselves or the others the judger questions, those will be the emotions that it will trigger. You have already lived this, experienced this. And if we ask them the learner questions, curiosity, possibilities will be the emotions that actually it will create. And this can be a basis to create a psychologically safe environment, just changing the way we are questioning ourselves, changing the way we are questioning the other people. So psychological safety is really a must and a fundamental for organizational learning, because experimentation is the fundamentals for organizational learning. And for experimentation, we need trials and errors and a psychologically safe environment. You probably know the 70-20-10 model. It says that when people are trying to be better in a skill, or they want to become more competent, if they just go through some structured courses and programs, they just get 10% of it. But experimental learning and development gives 90% of it. 70% comes from the experience on the job. Let's say you give that a person a new project. You assign them to a new role where they are practicing this new skill. And if you also give them a buddy or a mentor, or if their manager could coach them with the issues that they were tackling, if they can just open their ways, it becomes 90%. So experimenting is really attached to learning. So if you would like to start experimentation more in your organization, and if you would like to enhance psychological safety, let's just summarize the tips you can use to start. As we said, start with a low-risk area. We don't want to bankrupt your company. You want safe to fail experiments. If possible, do multiple experiments at once so that you can just get the result of it. And the one which has the best result, you can then enhance and amplify. Design measurable experiments. We want those success and failure criteria to be measurable. Trigger thought conflicts in your organization, and while doing this, bring diverse people together, make brainstorming sessions, and then define your hypothesis and design your experiment. Don't learn the same lesson twice. When you have a lesson to learn, actually, have a good lessons learned system in your organization, so you can really digest those learnings and put them in the DNA of your organization. And be vulnerable, be human. So when, we always mirror each other. Especially the role models in the organization, formal or informal leaders, they just go first and say, oh, really, I couldn't think about this. Oh, I made a mistake, but now I learned from this. If people could start to talk like this and share more, then the other ones will also make it. What is the word? Contagious. So everybody will start to do it like this. And we are human beings. We will be always a mixture of judger mindset and learner mindset. But with the emotions, with anger or frustration or sadness or powerlessness, you can feel that you are in the judger mode. When you feel that you are there, just ask yourself some good learner questions that will help you so that you can just jump to learner mindset. Your emotions will also change. Your psychology will also change. So these were the things that I wanted to share. So, you see my mail address, my phone number. You can also contact me from LinkedIn if you have any other comments or questions afterwards. But now it is the Q&A session. It's not only questions and answers, but if you have anything to share with also me and the other participants, I would love to hear them.
I wonder, if you work in an organization where people are very afraid of mistakes and always try to, explain why something has happened and prove themselves good, and mistakes are not tolerated. Can you as one person start to do this, like you say, to have this other mindset, and it will kind of say multiply in the organization, or I wonder, where do you start? Because I have a group that is people are very much, blame gaming, and very, very fast into that.
Thank you very much for asking this. Actually, you see here, one question is what is my responsibility on this? So if there is a blaming culture in that organization, everybody has a responsibility. It's not only HR or the managers. As you say, everybody has a point in it, right? So you can do something similar to this and put the mirror on them, saying that it is not, don't think about the organization, don't think about the projects, think about yourself. When you are judging, your health is affected. When you are judging, your emotions are affected. So if you want to be the leader of yourself, if you want to feel better yourself, change to learner mindset. You are also responsible for this environment. So because sometimes people are also disengaged to the organization. They are saying, why should I change for the organization? Why should I be in the learner mode I don't feel an attachment in the organization. Okay, then do it for yourself. If you do not find this organization useful, you can also change your organization. You can go to another place. But if you choose to be here, then be in the learner mode so that you could only feel better for yourself. Maybe you can start from there also.
Thank you.
By the way, somehow I have missed the chat. I cannot see it. Even if I click it, I cannot see it. So I may miss it if you have already written something there. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Because I'm also the host. I have also the host hat in the session. And in a few minutes, we have to stop so that you can have a bio break until the next session. Any last comments or questions before we stop? No, I guess. See you in the next sessions and hope to see you also in person one day. Have a nice day and good sessions in the conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye.